Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 122 of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Really excited today. I think it's my first interview of 2021, which is exciting to get a kind of a new year rolling. Hope everybody had a great holiday break, and I'm sure everybody's kind of getting back in the swing of having their athletes back and looking forward to that. Hopefully you're able to with all the COVID stuff. I know we are here and we're excited about it. So I have Coach Justin Bentivegna on with us today out of Hofstra University. And also one of the hosts of the Built to Last podcast, which I'm really excited to talk to him about that. Really excited. But before we get to him, let's talk through our sponsors. If you listen to our show, you know who our sponsors are. They stuck with us early on, and they're still with us today, which you really appreciate, moving on for another year. So our first sponsor is TeamBuildr, the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing the coaches the ability to write programs online, generate reports, and train athletes remotely for side income. That one especially, they have a new payments portal, which is awesome. I'm using myself. I can't recommend it enough. If you sign up with code BIGTIME right now, you receive a free APRE template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. There's no more spreadsheets or workout cards to track your maxes that change day by day. You can automate your programming without having to outsource it. You can do it all yourself with programming with TeamBuildr. If you're interested in signing up with TeamBuildr, they got a 14-day trial. Hewitt, his contact information is in our show notes. Not a better person in the industry to talk about how to streamline your programming. All right, our second sponsor is Powerlift. They are the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school performance centers around the world. They bring over 20 years of experience to the strength conditioning world. All products are manufactured in their state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. They are proud to support all coaches making the big time where they're at. Mike Richardson is our show rep. His contact is in the show notes. So please reach out to him if you're interested in having them do your room or just some miscellaneous pieces you need. They are obviously a great company, a staple in the industry, and we are really proud that they supported us in the Big Time Strength Podcast. All right. Guys, let's move on. I want to get to Coach Justin here from Hofstra University. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. I appreciate you having me on the show, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm really excited about this. You reached out and we kind of connected about a week ago, and I was like, man, I really want to talk to him more. So got you on, and here we are. So why don't you get us rolling here? Give us a little background of you, whatever you want to share about yourself and kind of what you're doing right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So grew up on Long Island, New York. So actually, it's unique about my story is where I grew up and where me and my wife are from. Our whole families are here. I actually got a full-time job here at Hofstra University to be able to stay close to home, and I love that. But grew up on Long Island. Realized that I absolutely loved sports, all things training, and decided I wanted to continue my athletic career in college. And so I was blessed with the opportunity to play lacrosse at the University of Hartford. And while I was there, I went in as a communications major. And because I love sports so much, I said, you know what? I think I want to make a career out of this, but maybe it's more on like the sports communications side of things. And so I went in with the original game plan of working at ESPN and doing things with, video and production and winter of my sophomore year, that profession. And so I said, what do I love? And I was like, I absolutely love training. I love the barbell. I love everything you learn about yourself through adversity. And I learned a lot about myself through my own athletic career and training. And so I said, I want to help other people experience that as well. And so, I'm going to bore you guys with every single stop along the way in my journey. But as soon as I switched my major to strength and conditioning and health science, I just dove right in head first and got as many internships as I could in and moved all the country before I got to Hofstra. The big thing that stands out to me is that, anytime I look for a spot to intern or to work, I always took a look at the staff and I said, who is here at this institution or who is here at this facility that's going to help me get better as a coach. I wasn't looking for logos. I wasn't looking for brands. I wasn't looking for things that look cool on gear. I just wanted to be around the right people. And I have been around unbelievable people who have mentored me and helped me become the person I am today and the coach I am today. And just to give them a quick shout out, Coach Maureen Butler, Mo Butler at UConn. She does an unbelievable job leading that staff. Donnell Boucher down at the Citadel, unbelievable programmer, unbelievable culture guy. Jeff Oliver up at College of the Holy Cross. If you guys haven't had a chance to connect with him at any point, one of the most, and I consider my older brother, one of my best friends, Jimmy Prendergast, our head strength coach. He has been my biggest mentor in my life. So,
well, Coach, that's a great walkthrough there. And just right out of the gate, something that struck me is, we have something in common is, when you get in the strength conditioning industry, they tell you, like, you got to be willing to move anywhere to get a job and stuff like that, and it's really, I think it's really cool that, you're able to find a job so close to home. And I was also very fortunate in that standpoint where I found a job an hour away from where I grew up, so
wow.
It's like,
wow.
I never had to experience that, which I'm fortunate for. And I'm sure, and I could tell, you probably are as well. So I think that was really cool. And then your point about, just finding people you can grow from and just, you already stole one of my finisher questions you always ask. Small school coaches, that you'd recommend or deserve a shout out, and you already gave me like 6. So I'll have to think of another one to finish out the show. But awesome, Coach. Well, I appreciate that. Let's get into, some of our discussion questions, just kind of keep this ball rolling a little bit. So with you guys at Hofstra there, maybe describe like your culture to me, maybe like what your mission statement is, however you want to answer kind of that question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think first of all, as strength coaches, right, we all want to pass on life lessons to our athletes, right? We all want to share things that are going to help them beyond the weight room. And for me, this is my personal opinion. I think it's hard to pass on those things. It's hard to share those life lessons if you don't first know who you are, right? You're not first confident in yourself. And for me, just writing things down, right? Listing it out, like you said, core values or a mission statement, that's always helped me a lot. And so we do have core values for our department. We call them the 4 C's: culture, communication, character, and consistency. And the biggest thing for us and what I've seen throughout our department that helps us be effective in living those out is that it starts from the top. Our head strength coach, Jimmy Prendergast, who you had on this show a while back, he eats, breathes, sleeps, lives those core values every single day. And I've known Coach Jimmy for a long time now. And when we talk about consistency, he is the same person every day. He's not bringing baggage into the weight room. He's bringing intensity every single session. He's locked in, and the athletes know that, and the people on campus know that, and he's very well respected because of it. And so I think if our department has any success, it's really because of his leadership. But on the personal side of things, right, we talk about our values, and passing things on to people. When me and my wife got married, one of the first things we did was we sat down, we had a meeting, and we said, we're going to have family values. Right. We want to, this is not, when we go to work, most of your time is spent at work, but I think we all would agree, the biggest impact and the legacy we want to leave is going to be on our family. And so we got to take the same intensity to, leading our family that we do with leading our staff and leading people at work. And so we created core values for us, and we came up with faith, family, integrity, humility, and passion. And those are the things that anytime me and my wife make a decision, we're making sure that our values are in order there. We're not making a decision that goes against our values, and it guides us, it grounds us. And so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, do you have kids, Coach?
Not yet, no.
Well, I tell you, I haven't had a guest yet. We ask that question a lot, and I haven't had a guest that I can remember anyway, kind of take it to the family side too. And I love that you and your wife sat down and established, this is what defines us and this is how we live. And like you said, any decision we need to make in the future has to fit this. And I asked the kids thing is because when you and your wife go down the road, if you do, I'm not sure what you guys' plans are, obviously.
Hopefully soon, God willing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like your kid, like that's just such a great, because foundation for when those kids come in there, because I have 2 and they can throw a wrinkle and things, obviously. But man, I love that, Coach. The faith, family, humility, passion. Was there one more? Did I get all of them?
Yeah. Faith, family, integrity, humility, and passion.
Integrity. Got it. Love it. All right, Coach. I can just tell just by, just that itself that, and you've already mentioned it, developing leaders, passing on life lessons. Are there any specific ways you do that, strategies? Talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So a couple things come to mind. So first thing, we got to practice what we preach, right? So anytime I speak to an athlete or a group of athletes about leadership or developing teams, right? If I don't live the things I'm talking about every day, I wouldn't listen to me. I wouldn't give someone the time of day, if they weren't living it. And so, one of the coolest compliments I ever got was from Keith Bugby. He's a head men's lacrosse coach at Springfield College back when I was a GA there. And he said to me, you do a great job of witness, then use your words. Right. So, a lot of times, I'm a Christian. And so we call that witnessing when we share our faith with someone. And, I don't just want to be a preacher. I don't want to walk around knocking people over the head with the Bible. I want to live it. And then maybe if it comes up in conversation, I'll share something about my faith. And so, the people I respect the most are the ones who live it. And so that's the first thing, we try and live that. And then, a big thing that Coach Jimmy, who leads our department, that he has really impressed upon all of us on the staff is something called the extra minute. And I think we've all heard the extra mile, right? And we know what that means. And so Coach Jimmy walks in the office one day and he goes, you know what I was just thinking? He's like, how many times do we walk past a custodian? Do we walk past an athletic trainer? Do we walk past a coach and you say, hi, how you doing? And you just keep moving right along. Well, when you give someone the extra minute, if they say maybe they're not doing great that day, or maybe you could just tell something's a little off, or, you ask about a more personal question about their life, and you give them an extra minute, and a minute doesn't have to be 60 seconds, right? It can be less or more. But when you give them an extra minute, that's going to come back to you, right? And so we don't do it to get something in return, but when we give people the extra minute, right, when you need something in the future, if you need, a facility scheduled, or if you need, someone to help you with, a fundraiser or something like that, people in other departments are going to want to help you out because you gave them time. And so, like I said, we got to practice what we preach. We got to be good people first because, if we're just trying to be takers and we're just trying to, make ourselves look great and look cool on social media, sharing motivational stuff, if you're not living these things every day, then I think just over time, you're not going to have too many people listening to you anymore.
Well, I could tell why you chose the values you did, because you're talking about humility there, right? You're not good enough. You're not too good to go, talk to the janitor or the, the equipment guy or whatever. You're humble enough to, give that extra minute. And then you also have the integrity to practice what you preach, so like it's all just coming together as you talk there, Coach. And it's very powerful. I appreciate you sharing that stuff. What is, how about talk to me about a time, maybe this time is maybe a time that was hard to do these things, like in a challenge or a hurdle you've had to overcome, where maybe that does challenge those core values a little bit, or maybe it's just a challenge at work. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think anytime you face adversity, right? We say adversity makes us stronger. That applies in so many areas of life, not just, in one setting, but anytime we've, been uncomfortable, right? I think we get better from that. And, with our student athletes, right? Let's say they're going through, they're on a heavy set of squat, right? It's a set of 5 and it's rep number 2 and their legs are shaking already, the things that I talk to them about, right, is, right, we want to have integrity in our spine, literally, but we want to have integrity in our values, right? It's like when we're uncomfortable, are we going to bend? Are we going to break? Are we going to, give in and succumb to temptation or whatever you want to call it? Or are we going to have integrity, right? And so, for me, I think just, I think one of the toughest things, just moving all over the country in this profession, it's not easy. Me and my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, but we dated for 3 years in undergrad. We were blessed that we were both from Long Island and we both went to Hartford. And so we never really had distance at that point. But then when we graduated, she went to law school and stayed at home. I went to St. John's on Long Island. And then I went to grad school up in Springfield. And so we did 3 years of distance after that. And so if anybody who's listening here has a significant other or a spouse who did law school, I mean, you don't talk to them. I mean, there's no time to talk or hang out or catch up. And so, I'm just so blessed to have an amazing woman of God just by my side who I could trust. It wasn't a trust issue. It's just hard when you're separated from someone. And so, I just think like any time that I've had adversity in my life, I just always have to look back and say, I would define success during those times of, was I true to my values? So.
I can relate a little. My wife was not in law school, but we did go through a period like that as well,
Really?
where I was still in grad school and she was 2 hours away. Well,
Okay.
that can be challenging for sure, and it makes your relationship grow stronger. There's no doubt. But she was
Yeah.
not in law school, so I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that was like. But
Yeah.
yeah, you guys made it through though, so that's good.
Figured it out. Yeah.
Exactly. How about just like professional development, coach? And I'm sure you're a lifelong learner. That's a key, I think, attribute for all strength coaches. Like, what are you really maybe excited about learning just as a coach, developing in this next year or however long?
Yeah, absolutely. So back when I was an intern at the Citadel with Coach Donnell Boucher, one thing that we learned there and a concept that he introduced to me is minimal effective dose, right? What is the least we can do to get the largest return, right? And if we have anybody here who's interested in investing or finances, right? When you think about return on investment, right? It's how little can I put in to get the most bang for my buck, right? If I put $1 in and I make $1 million off that, right? That's a huge return on investment. So for me, I wasn't always the most talented athlete, but I think I made up for it somewhat with my work ethic. And, I learned a lot about myself and I developed my potential through that. And so, I always believed in hard work and doing more and more. If more is good, then even more is even better, And so just this concept of minimal effective dose, when I first heard it from Coach Donnell down at the Citadel that summer, I was like, okay, that makes sense, but I didn't really put much stock in it. And now that I've been coaching for much longer, I'm seeing it's like, why do 4 sets and we can get the same thing out of 3 sets? Why train 5 days a week when we only need to train 3? And I think where the profession is going now, it's going hard towards technology and recovery and making the most of the, 22 hours a day that the athletes are not with you. And so I really want to learn more about recovery and technology because, like I said, it's just been more so my mindset's always been just go, go, go. We can do more. More is better. But want to definitely get more return on my investment just through recovery.
Yeah, I agree. But one thing I struggle with is just, I guess you're working with kind of polar opposite, the mentality of just that mentality of like work, grind, and all this stuff that
Yep.
there's a dichotomy, right? Like there could be too much grind and there could be too much of the other side as well. And what do you think about, like, how do you get a sport coach or even your athletes to really buy into, like, hey, more is not always better. Sometimes more is just more. It's not necessarily better. Like, this is all we need to do. Go home, recover. Don't go to the fitness center and do 14 more workouts. Just buy into what I'm telling you. Do you have any thoughts on just like getting even the athlete, or my biggest struggle, I think, is getting the sport coach to think of that, especially
Sure.
like old school sport coaches,
Yep.
back in my day, we did this, this, and this, and
Yep.
these kids are so soft now on this. And like, how do you battle that with this a minimum effective dose philosophy?
Yeah. So my favorite book of all time, I think it's the greatest book ever written. I mean, it should be printed in gold. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It is unbelievable. And the reason I say that is because I believe the most important skills in life are people skills, right? If you can relate to people, I think every situation is going to be easier. And so, and the funny thing about that, like you said, like a dichotomy, is that, that's not an easy thing to do. It's very hard to, sometimes speak someone else's language or see it from someone else's perspective. And so, so one thing that I think works for me sometimes when I'm speaking to sport coaches about that stuff is, I try and ask them questions. I just say, well, why do you think that way? Or why should we do it that way? Or, I might not say what's the science behind it, but I might say something like, what are you trying to get out of the session? And when they have to talk through their own perspective, instead of me telling them this is wrong, that's not right, we have to do it this way, I'll just ask a bunch of questions to try and lead them in the direction to just show them that, oh, maybe there might be another way to do it.
Yeah. And what I like that. And sometimes when we've kind of done that process, you almost talk them into like what you're trying to get out of them, because a lot of times they don't really know. They don't really have a good reason for whatever they want or whatever. A lot of times it just comes down. Sometimes it comes down to this is what we did or whatever. It's wanting to work hard. And then the more you ask why, it all kind of points back to what your original point was in the first place, I found sometimes, which is interesting. So, Coach, you've already mentioned some resources you like. Any other like professional development resources in strength conditioning or not that you really enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've listened to a couple of your other episodes, so I wrote a few things down here. So guys, bear with me. I am an avid reader. I mean, I love reading books, and so I want to give you guys a couple. Take them for what they are. I just want to give you guys just different categories and maybe one that I really liked from each. So my favorite overall book is the Bible. I just think it's taught me so much about life, and it's taught me about who made me and who loves me the most. And so I love reading the Bible. Personal growth book, definitely How to Win Friends, Influence People by Dale Carnegie. A leadership book. I love Jocko's stuff. I think Extreme Ownership was great. I just finished reading also Strategies and Tactics to Feel manual. Thought that was phenomenal. Culture stuff. I mean, culture is a buzzword, and I don't think there's any right or wrong culture, so to speak. I think just culture is more of a flexible term, but a great book that looks into a lot of different cultures is called The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. That one was phenomenal. Great book for any human performance or sports performance professional, whether you're a PT, an athletic trainer, cardiac rehab professional, or strength coach in all different settings. I think Joe Ken's The Coach's Strength Training Playbook. That book is a quick read. It covers pretty much everything, helps you design a program with the tier system that's really flexible. So I think that's a great one for programming. I think on the faith side of things, Bible doesn't count for faith side, and that was my overall book. So faith book is I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Dr. Frank Turek. I just finished that one. And I've always been someone who doesn't want to take just a leap of faith or believe something because my parents believed it. And so that book goes really, really deep. It's like 400 pages into the evidence for why we can trust the Bible. And then marriage book for you guys. I have a great book. It's a 40-day challenge. And if you and your significant other are maybe struggling a little bit, not seeing eye to eye on things, or maybe you just feel like it's not as, as hot as when you guys first kicked things off, a great book is called The Love Dare. And it's a 40-day challenge. Me and my wife did it. And it's just one page a day, one challenge a day to get your relationship back to where it needs to be. It's a great book. So that one's great. And then on the finances side of things, I know, again, we're strength coaches. We're in the weight room a lot. We consider ourselves maybe more blue collar people. But just to be smart about our finances, I think book Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a great book. And a great podcast that I really like is the Bigger Pockets podcast on real estate investing. So.
Well, I have some reading to do. So that's, I've read quite a few of those, but at the same time, there's about 4 there that I haven't. So.
Okay.
Is the Bigger Pockets podcast, is that the same guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, or is that just a different
guy? Okay. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is Robert Kiyosaki. So
right.
I have a couple podcasts here as well for you guys that I like to go to. And one of them is a Bigger Pockets podcast. That's one on real estate investing. And it's crazy because I actually heard about that podcast at the CSCCa conference like 3 years ago. I was sitting at a table with a bunch of strength coaches, and 2 strength coaches were going back and forth at the table about real estate investing. And for me, I was like, what the heck are they talking about? Why are they talking about that at a strength coaches conference? And so I just wrote it down in my notes, Bigger Pockets podcast. And I put it off for like 2 years. And then randomly on YouTube, I found it and I got hooked. And I'm like, wow, this is actually, I think there's something to this thing.
That's cool. That's a really cool story too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What other podcasts you like?
So Big Time Strength, I'm a huge fan. So if you guys are listening to this episode, keep it rolling. Great podcast. It's called the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one, but Craig Groeschel, I mean, he's super intentional about every single sentence in the podcast has a purpose. They're usually short and sharp episodes, around 30 minutes. And that's a great one there. And then the other one that I really like too is Ron McKeefer's Iron Game Chalk Talk. That's been, I think, like the gold standard in our profession for a while, and he has great stuff.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of podcasts, let's talk about yours a little bit. Why don't you give us a little background of your podcast, maybe your guys' mission behind it, whatever you want to share, man, because I've had a chance to listen to an episode or two, and it's on my list now because I really, as I can tell, you're a man of faith, as am I, and I really appreciate just the mission you guys are attacking. So go for it. Share what you want about your podcast. It's your time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate the opportunity. So, I just think, like we said before, it's important to know the why behind why we do things. And so, just to give you guys the why behind our we call it a ministry. So, back, I would say 2 years ago at the CSCCa conference, the last morning of the conference, there's always a breakfast where all the strength coaches that are believers or anybody they want to bring gets together, and we just talk about Jesus. And someone named Charlie Ray, who is the head strength and conditioning coach at Houston Baptist University, stood up and said, "Hey guys, I have a vision. I think we should start a podcast for Christian strength and conditioning coaches, or just for strength coaches, where we can put out great content that's quality, that's going to help people grow as a professional, but then also awesome, sound biblical teaching that's going to help people grow in their faith, and just talk about both issues." And he's like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to create a podcast. He's like, but if anyone wants to help me, I will be open to it." And so I'm like, geez, I hope no one else gets to him before I do. I want to be a part of that. So thankfully, no one else stepped up. I guess I was like, you know what? I just feel called to help you with this. And I guess it was divine intervention, because we hit it off and started this ministry about 2 years ago. And what we do is we take the faith side of things, the strength side of things, we combine them together. We'll have guests on the show that are strong believers, or people that just want to share about their faith walk or their professional walk. And we create podcasts. And we were blessed to come across another amazing strength and conditioning coach, Andrew Slay. He's the head strength coach at Lee University in Tennessee. And it's cool because Andrew was a strength coach, went to seminary, got his theology degree, and then got back into strength and conditioning.
Wow.
And he's actually writing articles for us now from, just like I said, sound biblical teaching. And so the three of us have just been pushing this thing for the past couple of years, and it's been incredible.
That's awesome, Coach. Where can you find like those articles? I mean, you can find your podcast, I'm assuming, on Apple Podcasts, but
Yep.
where can you find like those articles that Coach Slay's putting out, and where do you guys host that at?
Yeah, so everything pretty much flows through our website. It's teambuilttolast.com. So if you check that out, we'll get pretty much a podcast a month up there. Articles every week go up there from Andrew. And we recently just added daily devotionals from Coach Jerry Palmieri. If you guys know Coach Palmieri, he was with the Giants. He won 2 Super Bowls with them. And he's given us devotionals every day if you guys want to check those out.
Awesome. Teambuilttolast.com. We will put that in the show notes for anybody who wants to check it out. And I definitely will be once we hang up on this call. So I'm excited about it, man. All right. Hey, I really appreciate your time. I know everybody's busy. Really appreciate you coming on here. And I've been really enjoyed this episode. I got about a page and a half of notes, so it's good. Let's wrap this thing up with just a few quick questions, kind of fun ones, and then we'll get you on with the rest of your day. Sound good?
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right. Let's do question number 1. What's your favorite office snack?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, same. I had like 3 this morning. Great.
They never get old.
That's right. If you have 15 minutes to train yourself, not athletes, yourself, what are you doing?
Some type of squat pattern.
There we go. Anyone favorite? Back squat, front squat you prefer?
Yeah, back squat, I would say.
Yeah.
Back squat.
Gotcha. Let's do best piece of coaching advice you've ever received.
So back when I started out at Hofstra as a volunteer, I was young, green in the profession, and just soaking up everything I could. And pretty much all our strength coaches, I guess, indirectly gave me the same message. And it was, don't do things the Jimmy way. Don't do things the Joe way. Don't do things the Brian way. Do things the Justin way, right? Pull from them, but don't try and be them, or it's not going to be genuine, and you're not going to connect with anyone.
That's great. Just one quick,
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Cause that was probably the biggest mistake I made. I went from grad school straight to a head. I tried to do stuff my mentor's way, which his name was Joe's way, and I found out that Joe's way worked really well for Joe's circumstances for him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that we do now that's still a big piece of what Joe did, but it's definitely not what would be best for this situation and me and everything too. So I think that's great advice right there. That's huge. All right, let's do last one. What's your favorite Bible verse?
Favorite Bible verse? Oof, there's a lot. I've been young and I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken. It's Psalms 37, I believe 27.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, like I said, man, hey, this has been a great episode. Really appreciate you coming on. I hope all of our listeners were inspired by kind of this conversation we had today. And check out teambuilttolast.com, learn more about Coach, and reach out to him. All of his contact information will be in the show notes for any questions or whatever you might have for him. But one more thing for our listeners, I picked on him a little bit on our last crew chat, is I encourage our listeners, the mission of our podcast isn't to, get a bunch of likes and everything, but it does help. If you enjoy the show, number one, share it with somebody, especially this one. Share this message, share it with someone you think might like it. Give us a like, give us a 5-star review or 1-star, whatever you think. Review us. And I called out our listeners on our last episode. And as today, we haven't had any more 5-star reviews. So my call outs haven't been working very well, but I'll try it one more time. But
you know what, Coach, I'm going to give you a 5-star review as soon as we're done here. You do a great job.
Now we're up to like 39 now. So we're making it. So, all right, Coach, once again, really appreciate it. Good luck with the semester this year. Hopefully we can finish out the semester. Hope we put all this COVID stuff behind us, but good luck with everything, Coach. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Coach.